of questions here before we wrap things up. Paul, this one dropped in during your segment. It's just asking, does it matter which broker I use when it comes to getting cyber insurance coverage? Perhaps what should one look out for when maybe selecting a cyber insurance coverage broker?
Yeah, really good question. It does matter what broker you use. You are going to want to go to a broker, if you can, that specializes in cyber coverages and has more familiarity with them. Those brokers typically will have stronger relationships with some of the major cyber insurers, and those relationships end up being very useful if you have to make modifications to the policies to enhance your coverage or get endorsements in place. They have a little bit more leverage to help you do that. So it is good to work with brokers that are kind of bigger names if you can, and that have specific experience in placing cyber insurance coverage.
Thank you so much. And Kim, we'll close with this question dropped in during your segment here. And it was just asking, based on current court rulings, how do you feel courts will address coverage issues for broader and less targeted hacks or even computer fraud?
Well, you know, in thinking about, for example, the SolarWinds hack, that affected like 18,000 companies or plus at the last reporting. As we know, lots of branches of our government, companies like Cisco and Intel were affected by a malware that was essentially attached to a basic software update. So in my opinion, I think that courts are going to really strive to try to find coverage depending on what type of policies the companies that are affected have. I'm going to assume that Cisco and Intel have pretty strong, hopefully, cyber coverage. But then for the other smaller businesses, because there were some smaller businesses, of course, involved or impacted, I think courts are going to really try to find coverage to see if there was publication of any of the information that might have been accessed. Look to see if they want to look at SolarWinds, for example, who more likely is being sued as we speak. Whether or not information that was accessed, could they deem that that information was published and made available to the public by something SolarWinds did or failed to do? For example, if it was a CGL issue, depending on what kind of coverage they have. I think a lot of people, they will, if you have the cyber coverage and if we're affected by that, I do believe courts are going to try to help people out because they're already doing it in the context of COVID. They're really striving to find coverage just for COVID. And I think that when it comes to these types of attacks, they're going to strive hard to find coverage.